Quick little secret for you. My bedtime was 7 minutes ago, but look at me, powering right past it for another, well, actually better get to bed, but I'm not happy about it. To think I'm missing out on an 8-hour gaming session, all because our stupid bodies need sleep. Talk about a design flaw. Did you know that the alpine swift bird can fly for 200 straight days and just sleep while it's flying? Why can't we do what we need to do while sleeping? I tried it with breakfast once, didn't work. If there's one thing us video game playing people love, it's video games. And if there's something we hate, it's anything that compromises our love of these games. And the range of such things is vast, from games missing end labels to games missing an actual enjoyable experience. Don't you hate it when that happens? So I thought it would be fun to go over some of the things that bother us gamers, because I don't know about you, but it makes me feel better to know I'm not the only one bothered by something. I remember watching a YouTube video one time. Yeah, Genesis manuals should be in color. Never had I felt more seen. Before I begin, I would like to mention that if you're looking for things that are more specific to modern gaming, I'll have a link to an entire video I did about that in a pinned comment down below. But why don't we start off with something that the collectors among us seem to really hate: other people treating games poorly. How many times have you bought a game only for it to either smell weird, have dirt and gunk in places it shouldn't, appear to have been used like a frisbee and or coaster? Rumor has it the Super Nintendo was intentionally designed without flat surfaces to prevent people from resting their drinks on top of them. You ever wonder how anyone could possibly hate the Super Nintendo? This is why. After the success of the NES for console for a coaster aficionados, patient fans would finally have their redemption with the Nintendo GameCube. For the rest of us, we really wish people were bigger fans of coasters that aren't consoles. You know, coasters. The thing about retro gaming is, because a lot of what we like is really old, we're often forced to get this stuff used, which means we're at the mercy of how other people take care of their stuff, which, if you're somebody who treats your belongings like garbage, you're going to be closer to the average. But if you're somebody who compulsively washes your hands before playing games, yeah, you might be a little let down by the condition of secondhand stuff. After all, these things often come from people who are deciding video games are not something they want. A bit of a red flag. Unless it's a collector who's just trying to consolidate, in which case they probably took good care of it. However, in the interest of fairness, I should point out that taking care of your stuff is hard work. Having games just sit on a shelf untouched while you're not playing them is exhausting, and the energy required to put a game back after you're done playing it, it's like, where the heck is the Gatorade, am I right? Now, you'd think that just leaving a game safely in the console itself would be a good middle ground too, but even doing that is difficult. What if you want to present a game to somebody like a proud doggy? We need options. Of course, when it comes to condition, the list of unnecessary things we gamers hate doesn't end there. Raise your hand if you've ever had to deal with stickers. Anyone actually raise their hand? Stickers aren't impossible to safely remove if they're just on plastic, but put them anywhere else and yeah, good luck. Some people do like stickers because of the story they tell, but I find some stories aren't as good as others. And then what about names on games? Sure, it made some kid's mom feel safe 3 decades ago, but for collectors now, it can just be annoying. Also, writing a name on a game doesn't make it impossible to steal. Timmy knows this. You're never getting it back, Timmy. Next major thing that gamers hate: dying, both in and out of games. Outside of games, because then you can no longer play games at all, including dying inside of games, aka losing lives, which can lead to game overs. What can be said? As humans, we want to do well, succeed. It's not in our nature to fist pump when we get a game over, get dumped, or have constipation. The number one cause of gamer rage is failure while playing, plain and simple, with some of the more common symptoms being screaming at your TV, makes the other people in your house think you're cool 100% of the time, by the way, and blaming the game for being unfair, maybe calling it cheap. Sure, other people have beaten these games, but easy explanation for that. Those are just crazy people who deprive themselves of food and water until they master the games. Us normal people are far more reasonable. We expect to be really good at things as soon as we try them. But yeah, assessing fairness is a tricky thing. It can be highly subjective and vary from person to person. All I know is almost every gamer has deemed something to be unfair at one point or another, and it tends to guarantee rage. I'll quickly add in losing a game save. Seems like something that's happened to everyone, and yeah, not a crowd favorite. Unless you're looking for an excuse to play all the way through a game again, in which case, quick little trick for you, even if you haven't lost your save, just decide to play through the game again. Your backlog has already waited this long, what's a little longer? Moving along, the next thing I want to talk about is something that everyone seems to hate, but I feel like nobody ever admits, and it might be the thing gamers hate more than anything, which would be consoles that don't have reset buttons, am I right? No? Well, then how about people saying things that are not so nice about somebody's favorite game? People definitely hate that, and the proof is in the pudding. You want documentation of gamer rage? Just visit any forum, comment section, or place where people can write stuff and look for people insulting a game that others love. The responses are defensive to say the least, and I'm as guilty as anybody. Found some kid's chalk work and couldn't help myself from responding in kind. Seems like every single game has somebody who loves it too, although I'm still waiting for the day somebody gets mad at me for taking cheap shots at Rascal Racers. Next up, games that don't have a physical release, or how about no release at all? I'm looking at you, Cadillacs and dinosaurs. What are the odds that my favorite beat-em-up of all time, amongst all the beat-em-ups that have ever been released, has never gotten an official release? This bothers me every time I think about it. And how often do I think about it? Probably too often. The issue of games not getting a physical release could certainly apply to more modern games, with some games only getting digital releases, but for this video, I'm talking specifically about games from the past. Many IPs never had their, sometimes very different, arcade versions released anywhere, while other games got left in Japan, or if they did eventually get a domestic release, it's not a physical release, comes with compromises, or is only available on some platform you don't have access to. These games are important to us, and we'd like to own the games we care about. Now, before I wrap this video up, I'd like to mention some more in-game specific things that gamers hate. And the two things that jump out to me the most are water stages and time limits. And hey, if you're lucky, you can go 2 for 1 with water stages that also have time limits. The reason for hating time limits is simple. It creates constant tension and is stressful. Quick example, trying to find a public bathroom when away from home. Who has fun doing that? In a game, maybe you don't exactly know where to go or what to do, and having a timer ticking down just makes the time spent trying to figure it out not enjoyable. The reason for not enjoying water stages is also pretty simple. Water restricts your movement and is almost always the case in video games as well, often having completely different physics and sometimes different controls too. Sometimes in a good way, but more often in a bad way. Jackpot! Thank you for interrupting my game. Might as well just dunk my actual head underwater if restriction is the idea, and if being restricted while playing is the goal, then I've got some more ideas too. But there we have it, some of the things I wanted to highlight that gamers hate. Of course, there's certainly a lot more. Be sure to check out my video about issues more relevant to modern gaming if you're interested, pinned in a comment below. But in any case, be sure to let me know what you thought of the things I brought up, as well as any additional things you'd like to mention. So with that, leave a comment down below, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the red bird, yeah, and he's talking about video games. He's the red